Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to part 3 of my God Wars tutorial, I guess you might call it. As you can see from the title, I'm going to cover 4 subjects that need to be part and parcel of the entire concept of running a God Wars campaign, whether it be a role-playing situation or the tactical war game scenario that I'm working on Discord. Some of you may already be familiar with it. Others will have to wait probably until I go to print with it one of these days. But let's focus on the role-playing game aspect of it. Right off the bat, if you're dealing with a fantasy role-playing situation, you've got to address magic. At what level, whether it's a low fantasy, mid, or high fantasy level, you're going to have some magic in it. And since we're already buying into the idea that it's fantasy, there's going to be magic, there's some things we need to address. One is the ever-present cost of magic. What is the cost for not just the gods, but the mortals and the priests, and as you'll see, the monsters and things like that. Magic tends to have a cost in mythology and fantasy literature, etc., and you're going to want to determine what that cost is. I know the prevailing winds right now usually dictate that magic is this unpredictable, awful thing that mortals should not deal with, but we've kind of sort of passed that Rubicon with the fact that you're dealing with a God War situation. There's going to be some magic. Now, do you want it to be the kind of magic that always bites you in the ass? Well, does it bite the gods in the ass? Or are they privy to its innermost secrets and can sort of bypass that? Or do you have magic as its own entity? Maybe it's got a will of its own, and maybe it's got a karmic balance in which even the gods must pay a heavy price? Does it backfire? Does it have rules and regulations that maybe only the gods are aware of, and they can use it as they see fit without the repercussions that mortals will suffer from? Or is it in fact literally the power of the gods stolen by the men somehow, similar to how fire was stolen? Do the gods have that ability to use it as they will, or is it something that everybody needs to worry about? Then we've got our cast of characters, the heroes of the story, the true heroes of the story, not the gods themselves, but the men and the women, the elves or the dwarves, or however you have divvied up your world and parceled it out by the intelligent races of your world. The men, I'm going to stick with the word men because traditionally in most mythology it was 99% of the time the men who went out and did the great deeds. Now, if you want to hear that a different way, insert your favorite other words here and now, and just let's move on past that point. They are the heroes. Let them be the heroes. Let them do the heroic things. Show the trials and tribulations, the falls and the glories and the victories of your players. It's their story. Let them be the star of the show, even though they're overshadowed by these monumental deities and demigods and greater gods and eldritch horrors and things like that. Players and readers can only identify with the men and women of the story, so make sure the focus is always on them. Checking my notes here. Like I said, it's all about them. Don't take away from it too often. You're going to have to take away from it or take them out of the spotlight to show the power and the majesty and the horror of what the gods are planning to do, what they're on the verge of doing. And of course, it's the men and women who are going to suffer. Let them triumph over that suffering. Let them persevere. and steal the show. Then you've got my favorite, any Dungeon Master's favorite. If they tell you otherwise, they're probably lying. Every 12-year-old boy and girl who ever aspired to be a Dungeon Master, monsters. Come on, folks. Those are our finger puppets in the world. Those are our adversaries. They don't always have to be, the chimera, the dragon, the hydra, things like that. They could be the NPCs, the evil priests, the evil characters, the backstabbers, the people that do the foul deeds in the dark, the creatures of claw and fang that will try to rend civilization asunder one way or another. Bring them out. They are not just obstacles in the path of the heroes to accomplish their great deeds. Sometimes they are part and parcel. Perseus and the Medusa head was a multifaceted piece of the greater puzzle. Medusa needed to be destroyed, not just because it was a monster in the way, but the head of the Medusa did what? Yeah, okay. Things like that. The golden fleece, the ingredients that we're all so familiar with in the creation of magic items oftentimes come from, grisly as it may seem, the body parts, the blood, the spittle, the sweat, the tears, the feathers, the scales, the fangs, the horns, the hides of our critters. Meld that together as one more piece of the story. Don't just make them, the flunkies of the hour, the wandering monster orc party that happens to get in the way for one more break in the, what some might call a monotonous bout of role playing. Let them be an integral piece of the overall story. The party needs to go get a dragon horn or some such, and the dragon's not going to give it up willingly, and the dragon more than likely is a monster in the way, doing foul things, maybe under the behest of one of the evil gods. It's pillaging and razing the countryside. Well, the creatures stop the dragon, they kill the dragon, they skin the dragon. Now they're armed with might of the dragon in one form or another. But don't forget that besides being the foes of the party, they're also pawns of the rival gods. These monsters are, in essence, their playing pieces. While some of the gods may have their orcs and things like that, the monsters are going to represent their rooks and their knights, maybe even their kings and queens on the battlefield. Play them as such. Use them as generals and guardians of the path to the next step to being victorious in your god war. And last but not least, the myths. The old and the new myths need to play a part in the end of the story. When the game is over, your players are going to have become part of the new myths. But don't forget to use old myths to help, I guess, hand out hints and clues to what's really going on. Maybe some of these old myths aren't exactly as they seem. The party, through adventuring, etc., will find out the truth behind the myths on occasion, and those hidden truths may very well lead to crucial parts of their own victory for their own deity that they serve, or their own cause. Maybe it's time for men to throw off the shackles of the gods of your world, men and elves and dwarves and all that. Maybe it's their turn to maybe become the new gods. And to do that, they have to be part of the new myths. They have to be part of the next age of your world, so to speak. Let them play crucial parts to the next story that may very well, in some of my previous cases at least, be the legends of old, because you're now running a new campaign and you'll be able to use the exploits and the journey and the tales that your previous party created to inform the next new story that you and your players will adventure through, the next new game. don't gloss over this. Don't give them huge info dumps, but at the right moment, the right time, give them a little story here, a little story there. Make it short, make it brief. Not, here's a stack of papers you all need to read by next game session. Don't do that. Just give them something. If you can fit it on a couple of post-it notes, the entire show is one post-it note, and you should be able to do the same. Keep it brief, bullet points. They don't have to be complete sentences, just ideas. Then weave it together as an innkeeper or the ranger in the woods telling them story on the way to the next location. Use these ideas to create a greater tapestry, because when this game is over, it'll add more for the players when they go off and tell their story to their friends. Oh, I was in this great game, and they tell the story. They'll have more to add, and they'll be able to claim part of this greater story. And who knows, maybe some of those players will be players in the next game, and they'll help you out and remind you of things you forgot, or be able to play the descendants of their previous characters, and be able to recount the tales of so and so from wherever the fuck that my great grandfather did this, or my grandmother did that, or my mom and dad were the people who went on to do the great things, and now I'm playing their offspring, their child, and continue your campaign. I know a lot of people aren't big on it, but back in the day when we played our games, we played for the long haul. We were part of these great stories that still most of us, those of us who haven't lost our marbles over the years, can still recount and still at least individually remember the great stories that we were part of. And that's what a God Wars campaign is all about, is with the help of the players, some unexpected die rolls, some improvised plans here and there, some great strategies. They will create a story that they will never forget. And that's what a God Wars should be all about. And that's all I got for you today. I will be back next week with another installment of the God Wars, because there's more to come. And of course, I'll be back tomorrow with, speaking of gods, we and the book club, the Appendix N book club, will be reviewing the Gods of Mars. Kind of a different take on gods, but you'll have to stick around, or I should say wait till tomorrow night, about the same time that this will drop. We'll be discussing that, and who knows what I'll do Friday. But that's what I got for you today. Thanks for playing along. Share this out with your friends, because I guarantee someone out there has been wanting to do something like this, but just didn't think they had it in them. And I'm telling you, it's as easy as pie. If you've got fighters, clerics, thieves, and magic users, give the clerics a chance to shine. Run a God Wars campaign. Include the whole party, include your whole playing group, and maybe not even tell them that's what you're doing. Maybe, work it in where you can and see what happens, because once you're in, trust me, it's something you'll never forget. Until next time, folks, have a great day, and happy trails.